Welcome. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aïcha. I'm a doctor of East Asian medicine and I specialize in women's health. Today I wanted to do this live video all about some fasting tips that don't involve what to eat and what not to eat. I think my previous video mentioned a lot of what to eat, what not to eat, but what about some tips around how to eat and things like that, and some other tips that don't even have to do with food. So while I do think that hydration is super important and, especially electrolyte balance, cutting out sugars and processed foods, in fact, processed foods actually, even though they, not only are they devoid of nutrients, they actually can leach nutrients from us. And when we're going through a fast and we're not eating anything until iftar, we want to make sure that our food is nutritious. So I'm just stating these things now to get it out of the way, but this video is going to be about things beyond that. So yeah, limiting heavily fried foods, more fiber, right? More fermented foods, apple cider vinegar, prophetic foods like dates, raisin water, watermelon, barley bread if you can tolerate gluten. If you can't, you can try buckwheat or maybe more ancient grains like einkorn bread, cucumber honey, all these prophetic foods. So while I do think all of these things are super important, how we eat is just as important as what we eat. So I have a few tips here that I wanted to share with you. The first one is to chew your food well. That's the first step in the digestive process. When food gets better exposure to our saliva, it's actually getting more of those good digestive juices in it already, so that when it goes and processes through the stomach, it's easier to digest. When we chew food too quickly, we actually have larger food particles that go into our intestines, and it becomes more of a burden to digest. And it can even cause bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine. It's called SIBO. It can lead to gas, bloating, cramping, and even weight gain, all from just not chewing our food correctly. But when we do chew our food well, it actually makes the nutrition in the food much more bioavailable, much easier for our body to assimilate those nutrients and make use of those things in the small intestine, where our those little villi, hair-like structures are going in and sucking all of those nutrients from the food that we eat. But in order to do that, we need to decrease or increase the surface area by chewing really well. And also food tastes a lot better when you chew it really well, and it's more satisfying, and that's where the weight element can also come in. In fact, there was a recent 2018 study that was done. It was published in the British Medical Journal. It was done by Japanese researchers, and they evaluated about 60,000 participants. So this is a big study, and they found that those who ate really fast were more likely to suffer from obesity by up to 42%. So it's kind of a big deal. And they also found that people who snacked a lot or ate within 2 hours or less of going to bed, they were also more at a higher risk for obesity. So all of this is just from chewing, chewing our food. So chew your food really well, this way of looking at it. When you chew your food so well that it becomes like a liquid, and the texture is almost gone, and you can swallow it properly. So drink your food and chew your liquids. When you have like a smoothie or something, kind of bounce it around in your stomach in your mouth a little bit, and then swallow it. So chew your food really well to where it becomes a liquid, and don't add another bite of food in until you've swallowed the first bite. So chew really well. And you can even give yourself a count. So you can say, I'll have 20 chews for this morsel of food. And of course, depending on what it is that you're eating, the consistency, the fiber, or not so fibrous, and all of that. And then eat while seated, eat with good lighting so that you actually can see what you're eating, appreciate what you're eating more. Don't eat mindlessly while, busy doing things, driving, watching TV. I know things get so busy. But try to avoid doing that. Just delay when you're going to eat as long as you don't have a medical condition, and really make your meal times more purposeful. This will also help us to have more gratitude around our meal. When we're chewing really well, it's just more time to really thank God for what He has given us, and to rejoice in what we're eating. And it also, of course, prevents overeating because you become more satisfied much more quickly. And of course, that study of 60,000 participants demonstrates that. The next tip would be to don't drink with your meal, during your meal. So, and this is also from the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, peace be upon him, he did not drink while he was eating. So you'll also find that if you chew your food really well, then you don't need to do this bad habit of chasing down your food with water. It's actually a really bad habit. So when you chew really well, you find that you don't even need to do that. If you do want some water while you're eating, let's say you're like, kind of easing into breaking that habit, then you can have a few sips. And during Ramadan, we actually do, we may be more concerned about hydration because we're going through a whole day of dry fasting, but still don't drink while you're eating your meal, because it will dilute your digestive juices in your stomach. When we eat something, we need our stomach to be pretty acidic, and it is. It's very acidic in there, like battery acid acidic, and that's a good thing to really break everything up. Our stomach relies on two mechanisms. One is chemical energy, the other one is mechanical, physical energy, because our stomach is made out of muscle, so it'll literally go in and massage the food, but it also has a whole chemical milieu of enzymes that helps to break down the food. But when we add water, which has a neutral pH or maybe a slightly more alkaline pH, we actually are kind of adding more burden to the mechanical energy of the stomach to take on the brunt due to our impairment of the chemical mechanism there. So try not to dilute your those good natural juices in our stomach. Have a few sips before your meal. If you can, drink your water, plan your water a little bit before your meal. Ideally, it would be half an hour, but maybe in Ramadan it would be harder to do that, but just drink a little bit before your meal and a little bit after your meal. Do some prayers and then have some water. And sip your water. Don't gulp your water. Gulping our water doesn't allow us to really take in the water very well. You can add some electrolytes, you can add some astringents to your water. An astringent is something that's more sour, and that helps us to retain the water better, and that would be things like apple cider vinegar, squeezed lemon or squeezed lime, or even squeezed grapefruit, something like that. You can add that to your water. You can also add trace minerals to your water. So I talked about this in the other video, but I just wanted to mention that. So try not to drink while you are eating. If you need to, just have a few sips, but never chase down your food with water. Chew your food so well that you don't need the water. And this is, of course, again, from the wisdom of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It's also from the wisdom of ancient healing traditions like Chinese medicine, which is my specialty, Ayurvedic medicine. In these fields of medicine, we believe that there is a digestive fire that needs to be strong when we're eating. And when we drowse that fire with water, then it makes it so that we cannot digest our food properly, and it can also cause dampness, and that can cause issues like weight gain, sluggishness, just not feeling good overall. So that's another thing that's important when it comes to taking in all of our nutrients. So that's the second tip. The third tip is to take a break between when you break your fast with dates or fruit or even water and your main meal. And I know a lot of you guys already do this, so that's great. We do that naturally because we break our fast with dates, with fruit, with water, with maybe some soup, and then we go and pray. And then we come back and we eat. So that's a very good practice. Instead of, sometimes you have this food and it's warm and you're like, let me just eat it all now while it's warm. But that's not a good thing to do. It's okay, let it cool down a little bit. Even, Maghrib prayer and Sunnah is not that long. So give yourself give yourself, your body that opportunity to understand that, okay, I'm no longer in catabolic breakdown mode from fasting. I'm now in anabolic mode. As soon as you eat something and insulin spikes up, it tells our body, okay, I'm in building mode now. I'm in anabolic mode, which is a good thing. But then if you start to, let's say you eat a heavy meal right at that first sitting, that's not good. It's going to overdose our body and make our body feel a burden and fatigued. And this is not just with Ramadan. This is for anybody who's practicing any kind of intermittent fasting. When you break your fast, ease into it. So that is that. Make a prayer while you're making your food. So we do make a prayer before our food and after our food. We say Bismillah in the name of God. When we end our meal, we say Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, and we have a dua, right? Or prayer. And this is not just Muslims, but any tradition. You enter your meal with gratitude, right? And you complete your meal with gratitude. But another thing is, while you are making your food, while you're preparing your food, while you're chopping up those vegetables, while you're stirring your food, while you're putting everything in the baking oven and layering the pieces, the ingredients, make a prayer and a positive intention for your meal, that there is healing, shifa, that there is benefit from this food, that all of these naturally occurring vitamins that we know of and others that we have yet to discover, because we definitely don't know everything. There's still more benefit to these foods that we don't know, but that our body can reap the benefits from all of these things, and that, God will help our bodies to assimilate these things properly, and that if there's any harm in this food, that it will be eliminated and that it won't affect us. So make that prayer. I had a friend of mine who told me, she was like, I swear when I have my mom's cookies, she makes these special like cardamom cookies. She's like, I could eat a few of those and I won't gain any weight and I feel really good. She's like, but as soon as I eat like these baked goods from this place, she's like, I feel horrible, but it's pretty much the same ingredients. It's similar ingredients. So she's like, it has to do with my mom. It has to do with my mom and the blessings that she puts into it, rather than this other baked good that maybe is devoid of human contact and it's just been processed and doesn't really have any love in it. So that's something that's important. The other thing, so let's see. Will chewing well alone help to prevent bloatedness? I think it would help significantly, chewing alone. I try that. I always have people try the thing that is the least invasive first. And chewing well is the least invasive. Then if somebody has, like gallbladder issues, they have low stomach acid. Sometimes people have heartburn, but they actually have low stomach acid. Their sphincter is open. Things like that. Then I'll have them do digestive enzymes. But even in the nutraceutical realm of supplements, I like to address things by lifestyle changes and habits first. Elimination, diets, or including things that are good. And then if those things don't help, then we look into what people could take. But good question. So those are all kind of food related, the how of food. But another thing is, ask yourself how you want to feel, okay? And this may seem a little, I don't know, hoo-ha or something, but ask yourself, how do I want to feel? We often have these like long to-do lists, and we just know I need to do this because I have to, because it's required, because if I follow this flow chart, then this will happen based off of X statistics. But we don't really ask ourselves, how do I want to feel? I got this idea, this idea was more reinforced by Danielle Laporte. She's a nice lady that wrote a few books about, one of them is called The Desire Map, But it's a concept that's available throughout time, and that's basically you ask yourself, how do I want to feel? So if one of your goals is I want to be more patient, I want to feel patient. If you tell yourself that, you write it down for you, you ingrain it in yourself, then the upcoming events that happen in life, you're going to kind of run it through that filter. Like, is this going to make me more patient? Or, oh, this is something that's testing my patience. I better pass this test, so I'm going to be more patient. Or I want to feel more energetic. How do I want to feel? I want to feel more energetic. So when you're presented with like a nice plate of deep fried foods, you're going to tell yourself, I'm going to limit this because it's not going to make me feel energetic. It doesn't go with that goal that I have myself of how I want to feel. Or if you're feeling kind of sluggish, but exercise is on your schedule, tell yourself, I'm going to push through this sluggish feeling because when I exercise, I'm going to feel more energetic. So kind of write down for yourself, I want to feel more spiritual. I want to feel more aligned with my Creator. So when you have that feeling that's a goal for you, then you'll create other tasks that go around it. So I'll increase my sunnah prayers, I'll increase my dhikr, I'll have a better relationship with my parents and all of that. So ask yourself, how do I want to feel? Ask yourself this thing regularly, and then create some goals for yourself that will help you to embody those things. So that's another tip. Doesn't have to do with food at all, but it's important. It's like what you're feeding yourself, that doesn't have to do with carbs, protein, and fats. This kind of goes with that core feeling of feeling energized. Don't skip your exercise. I talked about this in the first live video. If you've had an exercise regimen pre-Ramadan, or before you've been intermittent fasting or whatever, don't skip that momentum. Keep that momentum going. That's really important. Exercise will actually help you to feel more energized. So you may tone it down a little bit if you feel like you have a little bit of insulin resistance and you haven't been fat adapted, meaning your body reaches states of hypoglycemia very quickly while you're fasting. If you're still kind of going through that even after the first week of Ramadan, then take it a little bit easy, but still keep some activity going. And just to summarize, in case you missed that first video, it's on YouTube and Facebook permanently, or however long those platforms are available. But for now, I'll just tell you, I recommend that you do something really light after suhoor or after fajr or in the morning when you wake up. Something really light like stretching, yoga, tai chi, qigong, things like that. Just kind of wake up your body. And then throughout the day, do lots of walking, brisk walking. And then before iftar, about an hour or so before iftar, do something that involves your muscles. So high intensity interval training or moderate intensity interval training, resistance training, things like that, because you're going to eat soon anyway. So your muscles, which have been depleted of a lot of the glycogen, they're going to get replenished when you have your iftar. And that hour before iftar is actually very important for prayer. It's one of the special hours of the day in Ramadan. So don't miss that opportunity. Do your workout, but also do your prayers. So don't skip out on exercise. What I mentioned also about the morning, doing something that's more light, something that's also a light type of exercise that essentially gets your lymphatic fluid going, your natural detoxification system going, is dry brushing. And I don't have a dry brush with me right now. It's at home. I'm in my office. But basically, you probably have seen it. It's like a dry bristled brush. And you brush your skin dry, brush up your arms, up your legs, from your feet up, from your arms up, whatever you can reach of your back, all towards the heart. So brush towards the heart. That's really nice to get your circulation going. You'll feel really good. Maybe when you do it the first few times, you might not really notice much of a difference. Some people do. Some people, it takes them some time, but you'll notice a big difference. It's also really good for anybody who has issues with just feeling like cold hands and feet, cellulite, dry skin, all that. It's a good practice to do. So dry brushing. Speaking of dry brushing, you can also brush your tongue. So I have one right here. This is a tongue scraper. Mine is copper. If you're worried about copper toxicity, You get headaches a lot and you think copper toxicity might be an issue, or if you don't have access to copper, that's totally fine. Mine just happens to be copper. They also have stainless steel. But basically in the morning, when you brush your teeth and all of that, you can scrape your tongue. So you would stick your tongue out, scrape your tongue, and you'd be amazed. Even if your tongue has no coat, when you do this, you'll see stuff. And in Ayurvedic medicine, it's considered leftover digested food. This also helps you so that you don't get dry mouth, which we do tend to get when we're dry fasting, because that coat on the tongue is in Chinese medicine, a turbid type of thing, and it can be sticky and not feel very pleasant. So it also helps you to feel very fresh. So dry brush, scrape your tongue. I also carry with me miswak. This is a natural toothbrush. Then it's also from the sunnah. It doesn't require any water, but you basically go in and you can brush your teeth, but not just your teeth, your gums. So get circulation in your gums. So you can use miswak. I oil pull as well, but I don't do that during Ramadan because I'm not sure about the ruling on that. So I don't do oil pulling during Ramadan. But you can include that if you find that it's okay. This is really nice. There's so many benefits to miswak as well. You can look this up. But yeah, it's from the Sunnah as well. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him. There's actually a really nice hadith that I'm not going to misquote it, but it was something like, if it wasn't too difficult on my ummah, I would have miswak be a requirement. So my mouth is getting dry because I'm talking a lot. And that's something I put in my last video, right, for breastfeeding moms and fasting, not to talk too much. But anyway, I'll keep it short. Let me see what else. Can you share some of your favorite Ramadan recipes? As also, when will your skincare line be available? Inshallah, will it be available for purchase? So thank you for your questions there. So this live video is more around things around food, how to eat, and I didn't want to touch on specific nutrition things, but I will share some recipes, inshallah, probably more on the Instagram stories. So thank you for bringing that up. I like sharing very simple recipes. As much as I enjoy making more complicated recipes, like more Algerian cuisine that's more, has a lot of ingredients, I don't like sharing those a lot because I feel like it can be discouraging sometimes because there's just weird ingredients, things people don't really use, and it's too complicated. So when I come across a very simple, nice, nutritious recipe, I like sharing that. And then if you look on my highlights, you'll see I have, I think it's called Food TX or Good Eats, and I have some food things in there. So those are things that I would eat in Ramadan as well. And my skincare, inshallah, at some point it will be available. Right now it's only available like in my office, patients here that I do custom formulations for, but at some point, inshallah, maybe around the fall, I'll have something available for you. So keep your eye out, and thanks for your interest. Let's see, quick question. How do you store your miswak and doesn't it get moldy? Very good. So I like to keep it out and keep it on a metal rack, so I keep it on that, and then throughout the day I have it in this. This is like, what does it say? Go Wo Miswak, but there's a bunch of them on Amazon, and basically you hold it in here and it has a hole in it so that air can go in and out. But yeah, you definitely don't want to keep your miswak in like a closed container that doesn't have airflow, because then yeah, it can get moldy. So good question. So what else? Stay positive. That's, I think, one of the last things that I want to end with. Our body reacts to negativity in a very physical way. Our body and our mind are completely connected, mind, body, spirit. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto. He's a Japanese researcher. And it's an old experiment. He did his experiment on water and how human emotions can affect water. So one jar of water was told negative things, bad words and things, and the other jar was told very loving things. And you can see a clear difference in the structure of this water. another recent experiment that was done in a elementary school where they had two plants that were given the same amount of water and the same amount of sunlight. One plant was bullied and said really horrible things, and the other plant was told very, loving, positive things. And you can see a clear difference between these two plants and how they are thriving or not thriving. So that is just so fascinating, and just tells us that the things that we tell ourselves and that we're telling others has a ripple effect on our bodies and our communities, and we're sending out these frequencies. And this is not this is something I'm telling to myself first and foremost. The things that we decide to internalize and the things that we project to others has a massive impact, maybe even more than we can imagine. Something you recommend to keep the digestive system, to keep it regular. When fasting, everything stops working. Oh, that's a good one. I could do a whole video about fasting and constipation. For now, what I'll tell you is have aloe juice. Aloe juice is wonderful for the digestive tract. So drink that, and you can maybe have some aloe juice with some chia seeds. Have a little bit more fiber, but with water. So if you increase fiber, you have to increase more water as well, because fiber is like a brush. It brushes through our intestines. So, well, there's soluble and insoluble. Insoluble is more of a brush. Soluble is what feeds our gut flora so that they can thrive. And when our gut flora thrives, we thrive. So do that. An old Chinese food therapy remedy is to have just a tablespoon of raw honey in a cup of warm water first thing on an empty stomach. So you may choose to have that for suhoor. So if you have a date, you can have a date, or you can just do this and not have the date. Depends on what your goals are and everything, but literally just warm water and a tablespoon of honey if you can tolerate it in terms of blood sugar and all of that. So try that. It is now 5:45 and I have to run, but I hope this was really helpful, inshallah. This live was just, again, all about tips that are around food, not necessarily what to eat and what not to eat, more on the how to eat with just some additional tips at the end there. So thank you so much for your feedback and all your support. Allah barak fikum. May Allah accept our fasting, and I wish you the very best. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. Take care, everybody.